your desire to think thoughts that felt good to you and to know the rightness of those thoughts. And you began to be swayed or persuaded by the crowd, who was often more railing against what was not wanted than tuning to what is wanted. But it was all working well for you. It has been. So you knew what you didn't want, and you knew what you did want, and without knowing it, you were launching these clear rockets of desires about what you do want. You were carving from the framework of your own life a new and improved life experience. You just couldn't help it. When someone was rude, you know you wanted more consideration, and when you were rude, you knew you wanted to give more consideration. When you were sick, you wanted wellness, and when you had not enough of something, you knew you wanted more of it. In other words, this natural utilization of the environment around you caused you to right away add to the continuing of the vibrational reality that you have been in the process of creating from the beginning of your existence, which is longer than we can go back and find the beginning of. So the way we're explaining that to you is that you were offering these vibrations, sometimes without knowing it, sometimes knowing it. I want a nicer world, you said, or I want more money, or I want more freedom, or I want more respect, or I want more agility. I want more, I want more, I want more. I want it to be different than it is. I want more, which is the most natural thing that you as a creator would be shouting for. More wonderful exposure to life and more evidence of the vibration of your focus. I want more.
I have another question, but to talk to your spiritual guides. So I started to imagine that I'm talking to spiritual guides, and then I think sometimes I'm asking myself if I'm just imagining what, if I'm just talking to myself, or am I really talking to...
Well, we understand why you feel that way, because in the beginning especially, it is a subtle connection. But you can tell for sure by the way you feel, whether it's coming from source or whether it's coming from man's conscious mind. You can tell by the way you feel. You can tell by the clarity of it or the feeling of it. You can feel by the flow of it. You can tell. And so don't talk yourself out of it. You often are in the receiving mode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I started to think maybe I'm just starting to if you want something a lot and you forcing. I'm am I just forcing it and imagining?
Here's a clue. Anytime you're trying to force something with your thoughts, it's not satisfying. It's bulky, it's awkward, it's bulking, it's uncomfortable. When you try to use your physical being to bang things into place, rather than utilizing the energy that creates worlds and the leverage of that, you can feel such a difference, especially those of you who are musicians or artists or lyricists, or those of you who call yourself creative. Everything is creative, but those things that you think are creative, or the athlete who can feel when you're in the zone. You can feel when you're tuned in. You can feel when you're in hyperdrive. You can feel when you're utilizing that leverage, that power, that energy. You can feel it. And in the beginning of tapping into it, it is subtle. And that's why we're asking you to not ask for the whole manifestation so that you know how powerful it was. Just ask yourself, is this satisfying? And if it is, stay with it until it becomes more satisfying, until more momentum builds, until in time you will know for sure. There's no question in your mind where it is coming from, you see. Esther always said, because she worried about that too in the early days, because it's subtle at first. And she would always stand at the podium, or in the beginning she was sitting because she didn't feel stable enough to stand. But her mental projection to us always was, I want to speak clearly your words, because she knew that she was a translator of vibration into word, but she didn't want her words to be in the way. Well, we explained to her, and she understands the experience of it. It's where you're at when you are listening that matters. If Esther were in the back having a fight with somebody about something, and then she comes out and she's nowhere near the receiving mode, and she begins receiving thoughts, you got to know they're not coming from Abraham. They'd be coming from the thought forms that are still in the hallway. You can tell by the way you feel, you see. You all have the ability to stream consciousness. The question is, where's the consciousness coming from that you're streaming? Are you part of an angry mob? Have you picked up on the pushing against in such a strong way that those words are just rolling out of you because you're part of that? And you feel that hatred in your solar plexus because you're streaming it, but it doesn't feel good while you're streaming it. Where's this stream of consciousness coming from, you see? Every thought that has ever been thought still exists. And law of attraction gathers them into streams, you see. So just hold your intention with clarity and be in a good place when you listen. And pay attention to what you hear when you do listen. And then watch what unfolds.
Thank you.
Really good.
Thank you.
Really good.